This is Navigating Cyber Risk podcast with me, John Riley, and George Usey as your hosts. Join us as we explore the challenges faced by executives as they grapple with new and ever-changing cybersecurity mandates. Welcome to another Navigating Cyber Risk with your host, John Riley, where we explore the challenges faced by executives as they grapple with the new cybersecurity mandates. And today we've got this amazing guest who's got over 250 Disney visits and knows our guests, or knows Mickey Mouse, I think, personally at this point. He likes to flaunt his rhythm with the Florida State Band Marchers. And last year his travel included Australia, the Dominican Republic, Japan, and London, just to name a few. He's racked up 1.5 million meters on a hydro rower during COVID. I did a bicycle, but I could see how a rower would be good. But that's some endurance. I'd like to welcome Matthew Koenig, a VP of Channel Sales of Nodeware.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for being on the show.
Sure, my pleasure.
So we're just going to jump right in here. So how would you explain the difference between what cybersecurity is and what the cyber risk is?
Well, cyber risk to me is looking down and seeing where you have issues, right? You're looking around and you're saying, okay, that could be an issue. That could be an issue. That could be an issue. And to me, cybersecurity is now what you do about that to try to protect yourself, right? And so I almost liken it to a house with an alarm system and door locks. Someone comes in and they just open the front door and you're like, wait a second, how'd you get in here? That's a problem. And you go put a deadbolt on it, or, you're covering the windows because you realize, someone could pop in my windows. Covering the doors by themselves is not great.
Right. And I think that everything's a risk, right? Walking down the street is a risk and to a degree, but not a cyber risk. But then, you have to decide, as you're walking, maybe is there a crack in the sidewalk? Is that, is it a hole? Is it gonna hold me when I stand on it? What, I think, and so then you've got to decide what those things look like. And so, as what do you feel is the most significant threats facing the companies today?
Humans. It's always interesting. If you look out there at the cybersecurity landscape and you look how people get breached, whether it's a physical human doing it on purpose, right, internal or whatever the case may be, or whether it's someone just looking for a hole out there in someone's security to get in, it's all human based. I'm sure it'll turn to AI shortly. But if you've got your cybersecurity shored up, then you've taken 90% of the risk out if a human being does something that they shouldn't be doing. But the biggest risk you have is humans and making sure that they understand what they should or shouldn't do as you shore up the back end.
And as much as we try and protect the humans from the technology, or the technology from the humans, I'm not sure which way that needs to go. But we put in all these technology things that are supposed to stop that from happening. But I think that ultimately, no matter how many times Microsoft warns you, do you really want to open this application? Are you really, really sure you want to open? Add a third and a fourth one, and that might help. But yes, when I really want to run that application, because sometimes you do need to run it, right?
Well, what I've always said is, look, if I have 4 deadbolts on my front door, if I've got every window and door and everything else covered in the house with alarm things and motions, blah, blah, blah. 3 dogs, the whole outside is lit up like daytime at night, and I got cameras. Well, if someone goes to the front door and goes, come on in, it doesn't matter what I got.
Yep. Or you put all the deadbolts on, you leave the window open, or, I think, that's one of the things that, coming from a IT background, I always saw somebody said, there's layers of security, right? But if you say that to a network guy, right, he's thinking firewall. So he's got 4 firewalls and everything in place. And then you say that to a system admin guy, and he's got, 2 network, he's got two antiviruses running and malware and, 3 other things. And you're like, okay, now there needs to be a combination here of like, what's the overall supposed to look like? Not just what your profession is and how to protect it, and 4 deadbolts, but an open window. And depending on where your view is. Yeah. I think that's where I see a lot of the frameworks coming in to help people maybe understand or look outside of that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is, so how should CEOs prioritize that cyber risk?
Well, I think CEOs need to prioritize cyber risk at the highest level possible. And the reason why is as we move on, right? Just like they talk about wars are now being fought in cyberspace, not with humans. Well, same thing. Theft, corporate, whatever you want to call it. It's all now cyber, right? It's coming in and shoring up. Nobody's breaking into the building at night and trying to open your safe anymore. They're trying to open your cyber safe. They're trying to get to people. They're trying to get. So my opinion is if you're not prioritizing cyber risk and prioritizing what you do to shore up that risk, or at least deciding what level of risk purposely that you're willing to accept, then you're doing a disservice to everybody. Because what I always say is cybersecurity, you can talk about all the technology in the world, but as a CEO, I should be concerned with protecting my people, my profits, and my brand. That's what I should worry about at night. And if I've got anything that could affect those three things, I need to do something about it.
And quickly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of changes that are happening. I mean, you talked about AI a little bit earlier, but from your perspective, like what emerging trends do you believe will have like a profound impact on cybersecurity in the near future?
Well, I mean, definitely AI both ways, unfortunately. You're going to need AI to combat AI in this particular case. But what's going to be interesting to me is as all of these things continue to build, right? You've got zero trust to make sure you can only get your fiefdom, identity access management, right? Where it goes to your phone with MFA or, all kinds of other things. What I think is going to be interesting is as that peaks, people are going to go back to the old ways because guess what? You're no longer focused there, right? It's almost like magic. You're focused over here and I'm going, great. You focus there? Yeah. You seeing it? Yeah. Great. Let me go over here and, do things that you totally forgot about because you're focused on something new and shiny. And I think really the things people need to worry about is continuing their foundational cybersecurity while they continue to build on the new threats that are coming.
That's actually a great analogy because I'm old school, right? I mean, my days go back to like the beginning of computers to a degree, beginning of internet. We'll go that far back. How's that? But when I first sat down with a person, he actually explained it to me that the hardware is the hardware, right? The software is what actually controls those pieces of hardware, and then you got your applications on top of that, and networks and everything else. But that foundation, I mean, exactly what you're talking about. That foundation is the most important part, and each layer. So as I've seen things change to the ASP model and then the SaaS model and the different mainframes to personals, it's always been interesting that it's still the same. The hardware is still the hardware, the software is still the software, the operating system is still there, and so that foundation is great because when you're talking about cybersecurity, as you said, that foundation may be getting lost where people aren't doing the basic block and tackling because they're looking at the higher end things that I've got to protect against this big thing over here now, and so the basic are you patching your applications,
And
maybe getting missed.
and there are two things that fascinate me about what's going on. First of all, CEOs still thinking if I keep it internally, I'm more safe. No, you're not. That is not factual information. People have this fantasy about the cloud being this big. No, it's just running your crap on different servers in a different place. But if you think about it, someone owns a data center with 400 servers and their job is just to do that. They have the money to put in much higher end protection than you're ever going to put in or afford to put in. So it always, I mean, because to me, that goes back to what we just said, the basic blocking. If I keep it internally, it's going to be much safer. Okay.
And resourced. I mean, so what you're telling me is that you have some technology whiz bang person that's better than the 6 or 10 data center engineers that might be there that have that's their full-time job. You think your desktop guy is going to be able to support that better.
Exactly.
Okay. you know, that's a well, check risk. We'll just leave it at that one. All right. Uh, have you ever been through like a cyber disaster? And if so, well, like, what does that look like for most executives? I mean, what imagine waking up that next morning and finding out that all of your data had been ransomware, and now you're sitting there, I mean, kicking yourself first of all, probably, right? But what do you how do you think that feels?
You know, I haven't personally been one, but I have had friends that have been through one. And it's interesting because you've got two schools of thought. One, I did everything I could do. I did everything you told me to do, and yet I still got free. But then you've got the people that come to you and say, you should have taken care of this. Oh, no, I have this document that says you chose not to let me do all the things that needed to be done. And it's interesting to watch and compare because even the person that had everything that got breached, isn't it amazing? Because they've got an incident response plan. They've got built in policies and procedures that were being followed. They're up and running much quicker, much more effectively, and lose a lot less than this person over here because it's like, okay, now you're starting from scratch, literally where you should have started before to try to figure out. So the downtime is significantly more. Both have to notify customers, which sucks. Because right now there's all kinds of statistics out there that the public is finally getting wiser and saying, if you get breached, 60% of them are going, I'm not doing business with you anymore. I don't care. So it's always educational to me to watch both sides of the house, which is, hey, they didn't get personal data. They did break into the system, but I don't have to notify anybody because they did not touch any PII, and we're up and running in 3 days. And they touched every piece of personal data we have. We have no incident response plan to figure out now how to go back and fix it.
Right.
And I've had to notify every customer that, hey, we got breached.
Yeah, I think that you brought up a good point there. I guess my question about customers leaving 60%, but I look at like AT&T got breached, right? T-Mobile got breached, Verizon got breached. I mean, so all your major carriers are breached. I mean, where do you go when they're all just doing a bad job?
I think people, for whatever the reason in bigger businesses, accept it and almost expect it. And what I think is ironic about that is they're the ones who have the better resources and more money to fix it. They're just not doing their job. When you have smaller, mid-sized companies, the reality is you don't, for whatever the reason in the psychology of the world, they shouldn't be breached. Big ones like Target, Home Depot, or whatever, well, of course somebody's going to go after them. That makes perfect sense. And what they don't realize is, and I always talk about this, they don't care about you. They're not going after you. They're just shooting shots all over, and they found a hole to drop their marble in. You just happen to have no cover on it, which is you had no cybersecurity. So you were easy to get into. And guess what? Hitting 5 of you in a night is much easier than hitting Target. But yeah, I find the public psyche amazing that Target's okay. But, Bob's betting barn down the street, oh, I'm never going there again.
Yeah, people say that, but then I think a lot of times they come back because it continues to happen. It has not become that oh crap. Here's my I've got to switch, and people kind of forgive and forget pretty quickly when it comes to cyber.
Yeah, I think people are getting numb to it, and that's a shame because as much as it's a part of the fabric of who we are now with everything being connected, the reality is it shouldn't be like, I don't care about it. That's like saying, I don't care about going to the doctor because getting sick is just part of being a human. You
Right.
still go to the doctor and get checked out to feel better and take medicine. Cybersecurity and breaches and everything are part of the fabric, but you still do what you need to do to try to stop it.
The blocking and tackling, like those foundations.
That's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy, that just because something has become part of the fabric doesn't mean you just go, okay, because okay could result in you losing your life savings, your business, having identity fraud occur. I mean, come on, really?
Who needs that? So tell me about this, Matthew. So tell me about you. I mean, I gave a few statistics at the beginning of this, but like, how did you get here? How did you get at Nodeware?
When I first started, I wanted to be a marketing, true marketing, like marketing research. And as I was graduating back then, if this tells you how old I am, marketing researcher got between 18 and 24 grand, which back then wasn't horrible. You could live off of it, but it was still 18 to 24 grand. I had a recruiter show up at the school one day and they were asking to talk to, people, and my marketing professor recommended me, and we sat down and he offered me 45,000 plus commission to sell carpet to apartment complexes. So I did that for a while and decided, yeah, that's not for me. That's not what I want to do. So I tried a couple other things. And to be honest, I fell into technology by accident. I answered an ad in Florida at the time. It was a boutique technology store. So think CompUSA,
Yep.
but in the middle of Boca Raton, high end, And so I started working there and I started to figure things out. And I kept telling them, I'm looking for a marketing job. I appreciate this, but long term, that's not okay, fine. So my first commission check at like 22, he comes and goes, "Are you sure you don't want to do this?" And I said, "Why?" And he handed me my $5,000 commission check. Maybe I should stay and do this a while. So to speed things up, I started there in kind of a retail environment. I started their corporate program and grew that to their corporate program, I think 12 million in 2 years. So I just started my progress. I then went to an MSP, $100 million MSP before MSPs were cool. I did actually work for CompUSA. I worked for all the big boys, the SHI, Softchoice, dealing with the enterprise space. Got a call one day and said, "Hey, you'd be perfect for this gig. Would you come talk?" And it was a company called Rapid Fire Tools. Well, a lot of your audience will know I was their very first sales manager ever. Like, I came in and I had 3 telemarketers, not even salespeople. And so I got involved in the channel, was having a great time getting to know MSPs, traveling, speaking all over, building out a team. Was there about 5 years and went from 3 to 42 direct reports by the time I left, and had put together their entire outbound program, channel management, blah, blah, blah. So as I did that, I started Kaseya bought them, and it wasn't a right fit for me. And so I looked at other opportunities and I just kept going and ended up doing, working for a bunch of security companies because that's where I wanted to stay. I took 2 to channel from absolute scratch, like nobody knew they existed. I took on a few who people knew, but tried to improve what they were doing. And and Nodeware called one day and said, "Hey, we do this and we'd really like someone to come in and do, help with sales and marketing and get us known and blah, blah, blah." So I was like, okay, let's do this thing. And 3 years later, here we are. So I love what I do. I have a blast because, I have the privilege of dealing with all kinds of people, whether it be talking to SMBs on MSP's behalf or MSPs all over the world. I get to travel. I get to speak at events. I mean, how could that be bad?
Absolutely. So, so tell us a little bit about Nodeware. What do you guys do?
So Nodeware does what's called continuous vulnerability management. So if you take vulnerability management as a core, now picture instead of planning to run it or having to do it on nights and weekends, it runs 7x24 in the background all the time. No network degradation. You're able to scan everything right down to IoT devices. If you've got remote staff, whether it's Mac, Windows, or Linux, as soon as they connect to the internet, anywhere they are in the world. So your information is never more than 24 hours old, built-in patch management, built-in remediation guidance. We give them EPSS and CVSS scoring, so it helps them decide what they should address first, and last. So we've got a very, very comprehensive, easy to use vulnerability management platform that's the best at what we do out there. And we're not trying to add a bunch of different features that either don't work or are outside of what we do. We're trying to be the best at internal and external vulnerability management and continue to build on that. So, we've got a decent sized customer base. And the good news is we're busy with demos God, every day of the week. So it's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you guys what are you working on? What are you currently working on that's like the most exciting thing that you've got going now?
So right now we're working on some AI backend stuff that I can't talk about specifics. But what I will tell you is it will revolutionize the way vulnerability management is done as far as gathering the appropriate information and getting exactly what's need to got. Because right now, everybody gets it based on CVSS or CVEs. What if you could get it beyond CVEs and bring that back as well as, and more importantly, bring back the solutions to the problems versus just saying, hey, you got a problem. It's going to be very powerful and it's going to be very next gen. It's coming out, I think, first quarter of next year.
So pretty soon, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
I
I'm
look
excited
forward
about it.
to hearing about that. So, like, what do you, and then what is talking? We talked a little bit about like what you like to do for fun. So, tell me a little bit more about about Matthew.
Sure. So I'm 57. I'm old as dirt. I've been at the channel 20 years. Yeah, exactly. On my second wife, who I adore more than life itself, she's a senior assistant attorney general. So I outkicked my coverage. I didn't just kick it through the goalpost. I kicked it out of the stadium. And, you know, we love to travel. And between us, we have 5 kids. They're all older, thank goodness, and out of the house. And we travel. I like to play the drums. I read. I do some consulting on the side to teach people about sales and marketing where they're not doing as well as they'd like to do. And we're looking forward to retiring in 3 to 4 years and just going crazy. We want to travel the world. We want to see literally every country that we can think of. We want to go to and have a good time in so we can say we've done it. So
7 continents, right?
yeah, we'll have a blast. And I still do some recording. I've got friends who have recording studios. So it's amazing nowadays. We did it during COVID. And as much as I'm in technology, I never really understood this. So I've got some acoustic sets and I have an electronic set. And if you connect an electronic set to an interface to your laptop, they can send over the file as long as I'm using the same software, download it. I can play to the track, record my track, say mix, send it back to them, and they can do their thing, the engineering. It sounds like we were in the same room together. It's amazing. So every once in a while we'll get together, but a lot of times, because they're all over the place, they send me music and say, can you lay down tracks for me? I'll be like, well, yes, I can.
Is that like voiceovering with just music, right? I mean,
Yeah, I guess so. It was wild when he sent me the final product of the first one we did. I'm like, that sounds like when we used to be in the same room together. I mean, wow, that was amazing.
well, Matthew, how would you like people to find you? I mean, LinkedIn, phone numbers,
LinkedIn and
what's the best
email
way to
are
get you?
fine. Yeah, LinkedIn and email are fine. And if you're an MSP because you're on Facebook, Facebook is fine also.
Okay. And if you could go back in time and give your younger you advice, what would that be?
It would probably get the law degree that my grandfather wanted me to get.
Give up on sales and go back to
Uh-huh.
go back to
Uh-huh. No, honestly, I think I'd realized that technology was probably the place to be. I would have jumped into it earlier. I would have focused on it more. And I think there would have been a lot more opportunities, a lot more fun to be had I not been so hesitant about I'm not sure I really want to do this. I'm just kind of doing it. So I think it's one of those things where if you're going to do something, jump in with both feet and do it. Don't do it half and half because you're never going to get the success that you want and get to the places you want to go if you do something half-ass.
Yep. And then a final question here. So, what advice would you give to our audience regarding reducing their regulatory cyber risk? I mean, overall, what would be your
Well, the first thing I
yeah.
would say is do the basics. Okay. A lot of companies aren't even doing the basics, right? Do the basics. I don't care how much it costs you. I don't care how much of a pain in the butt it is. Do the basics. Then get with your IT service provider or if you're internal and pick a compliance framework. Okay. If you don't need HIPAA, PCI, whatever, that's great. Pick NIST or CIS. You don't have to do it overnight. Pick one of them and say, I'm going to be CIS compliant in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, start working through it. There's a reason there are compliance frameworks out there, and they're to help you decide what level of risk you're okay with, and then implement a plan over time that helps make sure that that is the only level of risk that you're actually dealing with.
I think on that one, the cybersecurity maturity model certification for the DoD is a big one, because I think the big word in there is maturity. And what a lot of companies don't understand is that they can't go from 0 to 60. I mean, it's gotta be, you can over time, right? But you can't do it like it's the day your people will revolt.
And the other thing is, I guess the last thing on that is, I don't care how small you think you are. You're 100% correct. There is no hacker sitting outside your 4-person accounting firm trying to get you. But again, if you picture this, you're in a ballroom. I take a circle saw. I cut 1,000 holes just indiscriminately in this huge floor. And I drop, I don't know, 100,000 marbles on a 20-foot high ramp. Okay. Are you willing to bet your business that a marble doesn't fall into your open hole?
Yep.
It's literally as simple as that. If you're willing to bet that, right, do your own thing. If that sounds like, well, Matthew, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds like whatever. That's what they're doing. So if you're not comfortable with that, do something. Heck, at home, I don't care that I'm in cybersecurity. I'm locked down. You should see the amount of crap that hits my router every day. You know, if you're a smaller customer, you're small. Just ask your IT service provider to look at your router logs, which is how many times someone's pinged you trying to get in. You'll freak.
Yep. Just to understand what's going on, the automatic pieces that are happening. Well, Matthew, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. This has been enlightening, and I wish you the best of luck there in NodeWorks. And audience, thank you for listening. I hope you've learned something today. And reach out to Matt if you've got any questions, and hopefully pass this podcast on to someone that might find it interesting. That's it. There's been another great episode of Navigating Cyber Risk with your host, John. See you next time. Thank you, Matthew.
See you.
This was another amazing episode of Navigating Cyber Risk, powered by Omnistruct. Show us some love by subscribing and sharing today. Reach out to us with any comments, questions, or ideas about future shows by emailing us at podcast@omnistruct.com. Until next time, remember, governance is not a technology.